Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is my Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur preview for Sunday the 10th of April. Where's this year going? Honestly, it feels like it was just January and now we are looking at the end of the season next month. It feels like this year's just absolutely flying by. So, what's going to be the big things to look out for this weekend? Now, there's a couple of pre-match facts which I thought was absolutely bananas. Actually, let me just pull one of them up. The first one is that Tottenham last beat Manchester United in the league in 2001 when Glenn Hoddle was in charge. That was the last time Tottenham beat us in the league at home for them. That's mental, innit? That's absolutely wild. I didn't realise that they'd been so long before beating us in the Premier League. That's absolutely crazy. The other one is that Pochettino has yet to score against Manchester United, or his team has yet to score against Manchester United since he's been Spurs boss 3 occasions. That's also kind of wild, isn't it? So, I think both of those runs potentially come to an end this weekend, in all honesty. Although, actually, I don't think that we'll lose. I think we're going to draw. I think the game's going to be a very open game. Tottenham like to attack. We like to attack. We're likely to find space behind them when they attack. And I think we're going to see a very similar game to what we saw with Arsenal at White Hart Lane a few weeks ago. And I think it's a potentially high-scoring draw. So I'm thinking 1-1, 2-2. I think that sort of scoreline is what we're very likely to expect. And I do think we're going to be in for a great game. And I don't think a draw is a disaster for us at this stage of the season. As long as we win our home games, we've Norwich is away, isn't it? So it's Palace, Villa, Leicester and Bournemouth is our remaining 4 home games. We pick up 12 points there and pick up 4 points on the road, giving us 16 points in total. I think we come into 4th place. I think it's very simple. 16 points from this stage on. I think we are 4th place, no problem. Which means we're going to win 1, draw 1, and lose one of our remaining away fixtures. And I think this is the draw. If it's the defeat, I don't think it's the end of the world. But as long as we then pick up a draw or a win against West Ham, and I think we walk over Norwich at the moment. I think they're sinking fast without a trace. So, who do we have to watch out for Spurs then? Well, a lot of players, to be honest. You've got Christian Eriksen, who's a magician. Creates goal-scoring opportunities left, right and centre. I think you've obviously got to look out for Harry Kane. Deadly, lethal in front of goal. I think you've got to look out for Dembele. He could run through our midfield and completely boss it. They've just got wonderful players all over the pitch. And I think this Tottenham team's been several years in the making. I think when they signed Hugo Lloris back in, was it 2012, start of the 2012-2013 season? When they signed Hugo Lloris, I thought that was a statement of intent. And didn't they have a director of football back then? It was Baldini. I don't think he's still there, is he? But I think Baldini was director of football. Is this proof of what director of football sort of does? I don't know if we've got a director of football at the moment, actually, but I know Baldini was there. This is what you have to allow, and I think Manchester United are in for a very similar thing. It's probably going to take 3 to 4 seasons, but in 3 to 4 seasons you're going to see Martial hitting the sort of heights Kane's hitting. I think you'll probably see Memphis hitting those sort of heights. The players that are just breaking through now are going to be 21, 22, so you're looking at the likes of Rashford, Fosu Mensah, Cameron Borthwick-Jackson. These lads are going to be 21, 22 years of age in 3-4 years' time, and that's when you might start to see them having the sort of impact on the Premier League as the likes of Dyer and Rose and Harry Kane and all of those Tottenham lads are doing, which makes it interesting. It's just a nightmare of what Sir Alex Ferguson's genius was he was able to keep a team here at the very, very top of competitiveness whilst also rebuilding it constantly, refreshing it at the right time. He got rid of Kanchelski's Vincent Hughes in one season and we thought that's bananas, and the season after we win the double. And obviously, Alan Hansen comes up with a famous quote, "You won't win that with kids." Now, maybe that was a bit fortunate, but we didn't ever really fall off in terms of being competitive. We finished first, second, third under Sir Alex Ferguson. That was it, essentially, wasn't it? As soon as we won that first title, we was just in the mix all the time. And you think how many iterations of footballing sides that we saw under Sir Alex Ferguson, and I think that's where his genius was. I don't think it was his tactical genius, because I think at times he was tactically quite naive. I think at times he tried to play too much of a European style in Europe, and it didn't suit the DNA of the club, it didn't suit the DNA of the players. I think we probably underperformed for the level of genius that he was in European football. 4 finals over 20 plus years, it's probably not the best of records, and obviously only 2 victories in that. obviously the 13 league titles is ridiculous, but we didn't ever replicate that on the European front. And I think that was because quite often, instead of playing our best style, I mean, the 2008 win and the 1999 win. The 1999 win was based on 4-4-2 fast counter-attacking football, which is Manchester United, or probably, to me it's Manchester United, but maybe it's actually just Sir Alex Ferguson. I think maybe that's his sort of way of playing football. But then in 2008 we changed that, and it was more of a 4-3-3 with a very fluid front line. Two very strong midfielders, one that would kind of float around, and then three attacking players. Those three attacking players would all interchange and find it quite difficult to know who to mark if you was a defender. And you would see Tevez swapping with Ronaldo and Rooney, and they all cut around each other and be quite fluid up front. So it wasn't a strict 4-4-2, but there was other times where he tried to 4-5-1 it, and I don't think Varane was the flop that he's made out to be. Yes, we lost a significant amount of cash on him, but I don't think he was the flop that people made him out to be. I think the problem was you already had two excellent midfielders that had longevity in them, in Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, and you tried to just shove another player who was not a carbon copy of either. Varane was his own style of midfield player. He would get forward, he would also sit back and distribute. I thought he was a wonderful footballer, Sebastian Varane. But we tried to shoehorn him into a system that was already working, which was that midfield four of Giggs, Beckham, Scholes and Roy Keane. And I think even though he was relatively successful in that time, I thought it was the defence that never really quite hit it off. And I think we were still close, but I do think it was the goalkeeper and defence which stopped us really kicking on and doing anything. Even the midfield three of Scholes, Varane and Keane, it was excellent with Ruud van Nistelrooy up front. Now, over the course of this week, Manchester United have had the 1,000 Old Trafford goals just being played all the way over MUTV, and it's been fantastic. You forget how deadly Ruud van Nistelrooy was. I mean, the guy is an absolute born finisher, unbelievable strike rate, and I've been enjoying talking to Jadon and watching the videos with Jadon, because he's one of those players at United that you just forget about. We've got so many top class players that have come through Manchester United that, you know, you can go on and talk about, what was Cantona like, and you can talk about what was Roy Keane like, and you can talk about Peter Schmeichel and Jaap Stam, and someone like Ruud, because he was at the club, a relative, and I say relative, unsuccessful period, because it was only relatively unsuccessful for the periods that came before and after it. He does get forgotten, but he had a phenomenal number of goals in a short space of time, and if he had stayed longer, then I'm sure he would have probably busted over Sir Bobby's record in quite record time, for want of a better word. But there was all this rumours that he fell out with Cristiano Ronaldo, and then he was moved on because Fergie decided that Ronaldo was the future, and Ruud van Nistelrooy had probably served up most of his usage. But arguably it was another player that he got rid of too soon. Same with Beckham, same with Jaap Stam. But we can't knock his judgment on that Ronaldo was going to be the future, can we? So we've gone massively off track here from the Spurs one, haven't we? So what sort of lineup do I want to see at Spurs? I'm just sticking with the same old four up front. The midfield two, I'd like to see Herrera and Schweinsteiger. I think that's probably a little bit too attacking for Louis van Gaal, especially away from home. I don't think it'd be a bad idea to go with Carrick and Schweinsteiger on this one and have that bit more defensive mentality. In fact, you know what? If you went very similar to how you went against Everton, where we soak up some of their long ball pressure in the first half using Carrick, and then in the second half a little bit more fresh legs and use Herrera to try and go for them, I think that might be a decent plan. Are we going to see Timothy Fosu-Mensah or Cameron Borthwick-Jackson? I don't know is the answer. I don't know what the severity of Blind's injury is. Now, Van Gaal did mention he was going to play 2 days off and then he'd be back in the mix. So maybe that is the case. Are we going to see Borthwick-Jackson? Well, he played on Monday night for the under-21s and he was my man of the match. He was so composed. Every single thing that he did was just quality. And that's the only way I can describe it. It was just quality. Every cross that he put in was considered and measured. Every pass that he did, every little bit of marking that he did, anytime somebody come near and he was unruffled and calm and stayed on his feet. I just see a wonderfully intelligent footballer in Cameron Borthwick-Jackson. It's an absolute nightmare that he's got the longest name in the world, because you can't even tweet about him because it's used as half your characters. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Borthwick-Jackson brought in. Timothy Fosu-Mensah might have jumped the queue a little bit because of his sheer size and stature. it'd be very interesting actually to see how Smalling and Fosu-Mensah can deal with Harry Kane and Tottenham's attacking potency. Maybe if Daley Blind is fit, then maybe we can outthink Kane with Blind, because I think what we saw against Lukaku isn't a flash in the pan from Daley Blind. Daley Blind is an incredibly intelligent, composed footballer, and I think that was the perfect foil for an all-out explosion like Lukaku. I think tactically Roberto Martinez got it wrong, like he has done a lot this season. Now this is a true test for Pochettino. Obviously there's the rumours that Pochettino wants to come to Old Trafford, or United should be considering him, and maybe they should be considering him as a replacement for Louis van Gaal if the Mourinho job isn't already sewn up, which I think it is, if I'm being brutally honest with you. This is a big test. I don't think Spurs are going to win the league. I think they're going to drop too many points, and I think Leicester have basically got it all but in the bag. And actually, I was listening to someone from a Spurs channel the other day that said, we've got a game in hand on Spurs. If we beat them and they lose their next game, there's like 3 or 4 points in it, which is bananas, isn't it? Again, that we've been so poor, but that's how close the league is, which is frustrating, because if we hadn't have had December, even if we'd have just been half as bad as we was in December, if we'd have maybe picked up 2 wins instead of 4 straight defeats, if it had been 2-2, then we'd have been so in the mix right now, wouldn't we? Oh well, we can't just have the ifs, buts and maybes. So I think we're going to go very similar, and I think if Rooney's close to being fit, then I wouldn't mind seeing him on the bench, and I wouldn't mind seeing how we're able to bring him in as a number 10, because I don't think we can drop Marcus Rashford at the moment. I think Marcus Rashford is playing phenomenal. I think he's been a real difference to the way Manchester United play and our whole attitude of the team. So I wouldn't mind seeing, if Rooney is fit, then I don't want to see him start, but I would like to see him get maybe 25 or 30 minutes off the bench in the number 10 role and see how he can dictate the play around him a little bit from the deeper role, because he's not a number 9 for me. I do see an option for the number 10, and especially in a tight game like this, he could be useful, because he will drop deeper and he will do the little bit of graft that is required a little bit in midfield that you don't get from Mata. But he can't go in ahead of Marcus Rashford, which is crazy, isn't it, that we're saying that? But Marcus Rashford does bring such an intensity to his play that I think in these tight games, he's been a difference. When we look at Arsenal, we look at Manchester City, he has been the difference. His work rate and attitude has been the difference in those games. So I think he's potentially going to be the difference at weekend. But my prediction is going to be 1-2, 2. I do think we've got the potential to nick it, because I do think David De Gea could be a game changer at the back. But I think Spurs are so confident, so flying at the moment, that a draw would probably be the best that we could hope for. It could go any 3 ways. It could go defeat, draw, or win, but I do think we are looking at a score draw here. Stick it in the comments what score you reckon, what team you want to see us line up with. Talk to me about what you think was going to happen with Wayne Rooney. Is he going to come straight back into the team? Is he going to come off the bench? Do you think, is he going to be filtered in, or is he just going to be flung straight back into the mix like he has been in the past? Anything else that you want to talk about? I want to do a Q&A maybe over the weekend as well. So if you've got any questions, anything that you want to see me talk about more on, stick it in the comments as well. We are almost at the 7,500. I've got the live thing up here. At the moment when it's being recorded, I'm on 7,336, so I'm 174 off it, something like that. No, 164 off it. Yeah, something like that, I don't know. Maths is terrible while I'm on the spot. So I'm 100 odd off it anyway, so hopefully by the time weekend is over, we are at 7,500, and I'll be giving away a couple of them black Manchester United hats. So thank you for watching. Drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, and help me get to 7,500, and then we're going to think of something awesome for 10k. So let me know what you want to do for 10k, and we'll see if we can do something bananas. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you soon.